Sean Levine will step into the cage with Brendan Tobin in Are You Gonna Fight Me?
I'm gonna fight your ass.
Here on Tapped Out.
That's right, fight me like a man.
Only on the BetQL network.
You know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back out my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I love Beavers. I've got a little bet right now on the Oregon State Beavers basketball team to take out USC, and my mood the rest of the night depends on how this thing finishes. Right now, 59-58 Oregon State, but not feeling too great about it. I've already got half my parlay taken care of. You don't care about that. You came here to hear about fighting, so we'll talk about it with Brendan Tobin. I am the sports machine, Sean Levine, and now I'm going to fight this guy. PT, the Black Beast lost last week to Sergey Spivak, round 1, submission. Seems like that's kind of been a trend, losing early. Are you going to fight me if I say that as much? And you know I love the Black Beast. This pains me to say he should never headline a UFC fight again.
Ever? Like not like any fight nights? Like who's, no respect. Aaron Blanchfield is headlining. Dude, like they have a lot of cards. I mean, he's got the star power to definitely headline a couple more UFC fight nights. You always can rely on Derek Lewis to headline. He's like a go-to. He's a fan favorite.
That's what I feel this last one was. I feel this last one when I saw it, I was like, no kidding. Derek Lewis is still headlining these cards, and then he went out there and lost in round 1. That's why I asked the question, and that's why we're fighting. If Islam loses tonight, the Khabib comparisons are done. You gonna fight me?
I'm not gonna fight you on that. No, I think that he definitely needs to beat Volkanovski. I mean, hell, you gotta have a title defense if we're gonna talk about you in the same breath as your best friend or your mentor, or your former coach, whatever title you want to put on Khabib for Islam. He was always saying that he's the next guy. He's going to take the torch. He's going to reign over this division. Maybe Islam's going to have the longevity that Khabib didn't. If he loses to Alexander Volkanovski, a featherweight coming up in weight, it's gonna be a hell of a turnaround. He's going to have for people to say that, oh yeah, he was just as good as Khabib.
Brendan, I love you, man, but you have such revisionist history sometimes, and I get it happens. But how many times have we got into the argument about Conor McGregor and how great you think he is compared to how entertaining and really good I think he is because he never defended the belt? So you understand the importance of defending the belt when it comes to Islam. Where's the disconnect with Conor?
See, I think what's funny is you have a child's hat on and you're telling me that I'm adorable because here's revisionist history. The reason he didn't defend the belt is because he went up in weight, to go and fight to get another belt. And then he went to box. It's not like Islam is sitting here being like, man, really wish I could be going and fighting at 170 tonight. No, he's defending his belt because that's his options. He's not a superstar yet.
It is a little tough to knock Conor McGregor's route in hindsight, knowing how successful he's been with the boxing thing, with the proper 12 thing, being able to stay out of the octagon and still be relevant. It's tough to knock the guy. I'll give you that.
Well, it's just a silly thing. People who knock him for not defending the belt, it's because he went up in weight immediately after knocking out everybody's hero in Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. But Jake's right. We have talked about this about a billion times, so we could just move on because I smoked you that round.
Well, no, okay. This brings us to our next one.
10-8.
You might have won the round, but it was not a 10-8. If Conor beats Chandler, he's absolutely fighting for the belt. I think we're not going to fight on that one, right?
Well,
dude, they're trying to fast track this guy. They want him to fight for the belt. Come on.
Do we even know what weight class it's at yet?
Time.
Do we know what weight class?
Catch weight, whatever.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I could say Conor's going to just vault up at 155, maybe, because I would think that's a natural, especially if Islam defends. I feel like that's a natural build there with the connection to Khabib. But I don't know if he went to 170 and he gets a win over Mike Chandler, who's not a welterweight. That's that's a really tough sell for me that he gets to fight for the championship over Usman or Colby. Sounds like Hamzat's going up to middleweight, so I don't think that's a worry. Or Leon versus Jorge. Like, that's a tough sell for me, dude, if he's going to get to go to welterweight. 155, I agree with you.
All right, so just dream with me here. Let's say the Conor goes out there and he absolutely dusts Michael Chandler. All right, beats him, knocks him out, puts it on his chin in the second round. And then his next fight is not for the belt. Then there's still a million guys. You just talked about a handful of them. There's a bunch of other options. Which one would you want to see? Like Hamza, like the fact that you said Hamza, can you imagine Hamza and Conor McGregor, Conor all beefed up, getting in the octagon? It'd be crazy. No?
That's a terrible fight. No, he's going to get killed. No, I would not. I
don't want that at all. Of course he's going to get killed, but it's like the only chance that he could ever really, if he's ever going to really turn into Conor McGregor that he used to be, where he's not just this promotional guy, where he's taking care of Jose Aldo, where he's taking care of Dustin Poirier, even when he was taking care of Nate Diaz, like, I think that at some point it has to be bigger and better than Michael Chandler. No disrespect to Michael Chandler, but the guys that he's taken out in the UFC aren't exactly the who's who.
See, the interesting thing, like Jake is saying, like zero chance Conor makes 155 ever again, and I'm genuinely thinking, like, what welterweights do people think he has a chance against? Like, you think he has a chance against Kamaru Usman? You think he could beat Colby Covington?
No.
Maybe Leon Edwards. Like, maybe like if it's purely striking and he gets him out and around. But again, like the big thing with Conor is he doesn't knock people out at 170. Who? Cowboy with his shoulder? Get the hell out of here. Cowboy told you he was taking a dive basically in that fight. So like who does people genuinely think that he can knock out? Like Jake is saying George has knocked people out at welterweight before. Like what Conor hasn't. Like this is not a guy who has special power anymore.
I don't know that, quite frankly, I don't really know exactly what either one of those guys is going to look like, talking about Masvidal and Conor McGregor next time they step into the octagon. We always have these dreamy visions of what they were at their best, and the truth is neither one of these guys are near what they were at their best. Masvidal's heights were 3 years ago, and he hasn't been close to that guy since, hasn't won a fight. And Conor, you were referring to the Aldo knockout in 13 seconds. What was that now? Help me out. 7 years ago? Eight years ago?
Yeah.
Was it? I'm not good at math, so it's been a while. Kevin Lee is back, huh? Kevin Lee is back with the UFC. You're going to fight me if I say this dude's always been overrated?
No, I don't think he's overrated. I think that, first of all, I think he got to a pretty tough stretch. I think certainly he can talk. I mean, that's a good thing about Kevin Lee. He's got a Chael Sonnen-ness to him almost, where he can convince you that he can win any fight. He does. No, he's a good talker, man. I've interviewed him a couple times. I'm very impressed by Kevin Lee's gift of gab. He did get a win at Eagle FC, the vaunted Eagle FC that was there that had like a year run. And it's good to see him back, get a win in Khabib's promotion. So that was at 165. So it'll be interesting to see, especially if he goes on tough. He's a great character. I think that can almost revive Kevin Lee a little bit.
Yeah, it took out, was it Diego Sanchez? If memory serves me correct,
it was Diego Sanchez.
In the short-lived Eagle FC.
Win's a win, dude. You just got to get a slump buster.
It's a win. A win's a win. It doesn't matter the promotion. Doesn't matter the opponent. You're right. A win's a win. Brendan Tobin, my opponent and co-host.
Doesn't matter if it was in a warehouse in Miami.
Whatever. Fighting a bear. If you beat him, you beat him. No Rob Whittaker tonight, which is a little bit disappointing. Every time they come to Australia, you like to see the Reaper. You're going to fight me if I say I still think he can be champion. I see him a lot like Colby Covington, where his skill set is good enough to beat anybody, maybe except for the champ, and on the right night against the champ. But I've seen him fight the champ, so it's tough for me to say that, if that makes sense.
Well, the champ's not the champ anymore. Pereira's the champ.
That's how it goes. And that's a fair point, too.
And I actually would. No, I don't. So other than your point of is he still being champion? No, I'm not going to fight you. I think that I would love to see what Robert Whittaker versus Pereira would be, because he's a different type of striker. The thing with Robert that's interesting, and he wasn't able to do this against Izzy. Izzy made him just so one-dimensional, basically made him a one-handed fighter. Didn't throw kicks, didn't throw that side kick to the knee that he loves, didn't let his hands go. would he with a guy like Alex, who, is a little bit more in front of you, but obviously has atomic bombs coming your way? I'm fascinated to see it because it's interesting. We have a situation where we have a champion right now who we all feel like has the number one contender's number. And then we have all these great middleweights who have all gotten killed by Izzy. But we'd like to see what would their chances be against a guy like Bejeda. Could they dethrone him? And I think that there are still some interesting matchup questions around there. It just seems that he has the toughest mystery all solved already because he's beaten him in 2 sports.
So let me pat the show on the back a little bit, if I can, because we're going to have Alexander Volkanovski, the pound-for-pound champion, coming up next. Obviously, he fights in the main event tonight versus Islam Makhachev. However, we've also had on Israel Adesanya, who you were just talking about. We've had on Robert Whittaker. And then we had on this guy, Johnny Eblen, just last week, right? 2 weeks ago from Bellator. And not a lot of people necessarily know who he is. His name is not as big as some of these other guys. You're going to fight me if I said, if you got in the octagon with any of those guys, including Pereira, I think Johnny Eblen would kick their ass.
He's really good, dude. He's really
so good. He's so good.
It's a shame, and it was funny asking him about that because he very clearly appreciates Bellator, and Bellator does a good thing with their young guys. They give them an opportunity. They're on a main network, but as Michael Chandler will tell you, it ain't the UFC. It's just not. You don't get the rub. You don't get the exposure that you do from the UFC to Bellator. And so he's sitting here and he's fighting and training with the best people in the world at one of the best gyms in the world, at American Top Team. He knows how good he is. And yeah, I think that there is an argument that he could be the best middleweight on the planet, but we'll never know because they're not, unless he finds his way to the UFC. And I don't think Bellator is going to do anything to let him go anytime soon.
No, he's great. You could argue the face of the promotion or one of them right now for sure. Never had a number one pound for pound versus number 2 until tonight when we see Islam step in the octagon with Volkanovski. Right now, you can get Islam still as a very, very heavy favorite, right around minus 375. Volk is kind of going back and forth, plus 290. Some places right now, plus 305 on BetMGM. I'd get in where you fit in right now. If you're a Volkanovski bettor, plus 305. Looks pretty good to me. Are you going to fight me if I say we might not see this again? It's been 30 years of the UFC, and we've never seen a number 1 versus number 2. This just doesn't happen where they're even close enough to the same weight class and they both have a fight ready and they're ready to fight each other. Like, think about all that both these guys truly are putting on the line tonight. Volkanovski, and he said it several times, and he's going to join us on the show actually coming up next. I mean, he's, not obviously not his belt, but still you talk about the champ status, the pound for pound number 1. This is it might not be as entertaining, or you might not personally be looking forward to it the same way as Connor versus Chandler. I get it, or even John versus Gon. But for the true fight heads like us, this is the one we've been waiting for tonight. Number 1 versus number 2. You're gonna fight me if I say we might not ever see this again.
Look, we've gotten this long in the sport and it's never happened before. Looking at the pound for pound, the only other path to it right now, if you were to look at it, would be
gimme.
Probably if Islam were to go fight. If Islam were to go fight the welterweight, it would basically happen again back to back because you assume if Islam wins this fight, he's going to go to number 1 pound for pound. The only way he's going to get leapfrogged is going to be if John Jones wins the heavyweight championship. I feel like everybody's probably going to put John back to number 1, but if they don't, then maybe there's a path for him to get Islam versus either Kamaru or Leon in the near future. But I don't think Islam is going to make that jump. So yeah, man, this is a rarity. People love history. It's still a newish sport, but there's still been plenty of great fighters and great matchups all around. And the double champ thing has become more common, but still haven't had this yet. So appreciate what you're watching tonight.
I don't think it's as simple as John wins against Gon and he becomes the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. I know in theory, maybe it should be that simple. I think we need to see how he looks. If he looks dominant, then he absolutely is. If he looks like he did in the Gus 2 fight, or if he certainly looks like he did against Dominic Reyes or something like that, he jumps back in the top 5 because he's John Jones and because he's back. But I think he needs to look Especially if Volkanovski wins this fight tonight. Like, if Volkanovski wins this fight tonight, I don't think John should jump him with a win. Do you?
I think that's fair. If Volk wins, that gets him a lot of cachet to stick there.
Absolutely.
But I also think that John could do something insane enough because of his lifetime resume that he could also leapfrog him, and I wouldn't be upset.
We had Josh Emmett on the show earlier. Quickly, you going to fight me if I say his beard is good, but it's not as good as Kimbo's or Khabib's?
No, but his beard is better than Kimbo's.
Kimbo's is really, really good. That's a really good beard.
Would have been his birthday this week. Rest in peace to a legend.
Coming up next, I don't know what his facial hair situation is tonight, but I do know that he's the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and he joins us. Alexander Volkanovski is locked into the BetQL network.